Great. So,
Recording. Here we go.
all right, Charlie Riverman, thank you. Let's start this call with this innate, inherent, deep love and respect for this living consciousness of water that is nurturing and nourishing everything on the planet. That includes us as human beings in our humaning, and this effervescent force that flows through from the primal waters, the galactic sea, and cycles and recycles itself on Earth. And we just feel that as we're deepening into this connection with our breath. And welcome to Radical Earth Heart Resonance. And so we're going to start with the breath and closing the window here. So starting with the breath, just inviting us, breath in a gong, in a crystal bowl, connecting with the crystalline nature of all life within us and as us. And with every breath, we're just deepening in, opening our hearts. And expanding that beautiful intention of co-creation. Standing as radical earth heart warriors, messengers, missionaries of love. And we're just bringing this light and love to the grid, around the planet, to working with frequency, sound, and vibration, recognizing first that we are that. So as you're breathing, we're opening to receiving these energies. We're in resonance with the intelligence of the field itself. So just breathing that in, feeling that sense of glory. No matter what's going on, we can always hold this field as the field holds us. And we're just relaxing in, and we just came from this beautiful energy of sound and vibration from Amani's land and around the planet here. And with gratitude, we give that energy back to ourselves, back to our cells through our breath. Feeling this core connection with the Divine Mother within and without. With the elements, all elementals. We honor and respect. Just invite them into this beautiful sphere of love, this ever moving sphere of wholeness, this hoop of many hoops. And we see stand before us this beautiful tree of life, and we're breathing with her. We are her. Honoring all of our ancestral lineages as one source consciousness. The Akash. Honoring the diversity of all life and the messengers that bring us so much love and joy and guidance. And we take another breath and we honor each of our guides that have chosen to walk this road with us, this shining path. And that we walk it always asking What would love do now? How does love want to move through me? How does love want to express through us as a collective? And just feeling that energy expand out past the etheric body, the mental body, the spiritual, emotional body. Just let it expand out to this neighborhood, this circle here tonight. And feeling that radiance, it expands out. I love that beautiful pink layer that was being described on the earth, just feeling it move through the limestone, through the waters, through the tree forest roots, through the oxygen that is moving, is breathing us. And we hold within this circle tonight the fires and the floods and the extreme weather patterns. Just making yourself known to them. Let it know who you are, your intention tonight. And the stone beings. And just feeling our world expand to embrace all those that are in this moment of choice, in this pilgrimage of peace, love, and harmony, maybe having a difficult time, maybe choosing something other than that. We hold them in the circle, that in any moment that change can happen. We just see this beautiful effervescent light just coming down from the great central sun, filling our bodies, our prana tube. It's really lighting up our cells with aliveness. And we come together tonight in this incredibly safe space where love abounds, where there's this sensate experience of boundlessness and bounty. Creativity, trust, kindness. Just continuing this breath and very gently coming forward, welcoming each other to the space. Radical Earth Heart Resonance. And we hold Tyhson wherever he, we hold Tyhson in the space wherever he is. And know that he's in service for the good of the whole, wherever he is. And so I want to welcome one of my sacred evolutionary field advisor, Charlie Riverman, and just let him bring his voice into this circle. We just came from a Loving Waters council meeting, which is bringing greater love and coherence to the planet. And I've been amidst a lot of focus on the caravan of unity, which I want to share with you all because it intertwines with wherever we're going tonight, and wherever we choose to go from here as well. And also, Claudia, I know, sent a visual, which I have to pick up for her land, and she can share. But let's open to Charlie and get us see what's wanting to come through tonight.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. You are a beautiful being here on this wonderful planet we endearly call Mother Earth. And so it's always a joy to be here in the energies of Mother Earth with so many of my brothers and sisters who are now really deepening into that heart resonance and listening more carefully to the water, to the air, to the earth, to the fire, and the elements. Deepening our relationship as part of this whole. We are these water beings. As Shelley said, we come from the Love and Waters meeting, and where we honor the fact that we are water beings. And we let go of the stories about who we are, and we become that element of water and honor that. And so tonight is, we think about what's going on with Mother Earth. I would just like everybody to really just open your hearts and receive. Open your hearts and receive whatever is coming to you from the heart of Mother Earth during this full moon. This is as you all know, a powerful time in which we can communicate at multidimensional levels with all sorts of living beings that most people would not even say exist. And this is what radical earth heart resonance means for me, is really tapping into all of the things that I've been told in my life I couldn't communicate with. And here we are, gathered in circle tonight. Thank you all for showing up, each one of you with your special gifts. I honor each and every one of you. Shelley, I'm complete. I'm whole. I'm in love. And it's all yours.
Okay, so we are all going to get to share, and we will focus on Claudia's land. And I know Charlie has worked a little bit on that, so he can open that up. And we will look at what Peter's up to, because it feels very integral to what we're up to. And but to begin, I just want to say I have to leave here in about 40 minutes. And I want to explain where I'm going, because it's very tied to, and I just realized that radical earth heart resonance, this call next Tuesday night will be right before the full day in the connection field, good of the whole, in expression of coming home to the heartland, in the caravan of unity. And I want to describe, just so it's recorded, what is happening, why it's important, why it might have something to do with, Peter, what you're up to, and where we might be going during the next couple of weeks as the caravan of unity, this movement for peace and harmony, is going literally, locally going across the country all the way to the Washington Mall. And a few magical things have happened over the past few days. And it's pretty radical. And as we started, I asked Peter to hold, and all of you to hold in these words, spiritual recovery of America. And I think it has a lot to do with the energy expression of your work, Peter, and what we're coming together to do. So where to begin? So the caravan of unity, just to help everyone, and maybe to help Peter come into the space with us, and for those who might not be aware, has been planned for, I don't know how many years, at least 4 years, if not more, and was to be a literal caravan of many, many people focused on unity, with stopping at certain places in the United States, get on its way to Washington, D.C. Of course, because of the COVID, things have changed, and now it's primarily 99%, except for the tech team that's traveling online. And you can find out more about that at unity.earth or Caravan, what am I saying? Caravan 2020, sorry. Don't mind me. I'm a little bit. I'm here, but I'm pulling myself forward. So the magic of this is that, right now we're in the connection field. This is where these offerings are happening. This started in when COVID began in March 5th, I think we started. And it is this inclusive space where love happens. Let's just leave it that simple for now, where it's safe, people can come together, there's amazing offerings, and people can always come and tap into what Charlie was talking about, this home frequency, this state of literally being in direct relationship with the intelligence of the field itself. It is what we are all about, how we're all being mentored by that unified field, and what that feels like when we come together as mentoring stewards in service for the good of the whole. I'm not talking about the organization right now. I'm talking about just in service for the good of the whole. And each one of us has been doing that in our own particular ways. What's really magical, so September 9th, everything will be broadcasted live, going to thousands and thousands and thousands of people out of the connection field. And what has evolved is so powerful. So I'm going to try and do this really concisely, is that I began talking to a woman named Joan Henry, who does she's part of the Four Worlds Institute and the Women's Talking Circle. She's an earth singer. She is, I actually don't know her lineage, just like off the bat, but basically she works with water, she works with land. She's been doing indigenous ceremony for 40 years. She's amazing. And so I started talking to her about the feelings that we were having about coming home to the heartland, which is happening in Kearney, Nebraska. It's been shifted a little bit to Minden, but Kearney, Nebraska was the place of the Plum Creek Massacre. But really, that particular massacre was simply where the natives came and killed the white men. It was their revenge, but it was revenge because of what was happening in the Sands Creek massacre. And so what's happening, and what is the essential piece of this caravan of unity, is that Brother and Chief Phil Lane Jr. and many, many different tribal nations are focused on this spiritual recovery of America. But it's really, so going to sacred state, like really bringing in this message of unity back to the earth, and to listen to the earth's message about unity. And again, these are my words, so you'll have to go look it up more and you'll be hearing more about it. But it really is only starting in Colorado. So right now, the caravan has left, started in San Francisco, has left, is now in LA, moving to Las Vegas, and then Colorado, and will then on September 9th will be in Nebraska. The importance of this is that these ceremonies of the healing of the land are being done in conjunction with all nations, that this is the actual healing. So what happened in Nebraska is that I started to speak to Joan Henry, and she went, Kearney, Nebraska? Are you kidding me? And Kearney, Nebraska, number one, is known for the sandhill cranes that migrate there every year. But even bigger than that, and Peter, you can add to this if you know much. It is where the original, they don't have any original people there, because what happened was the Pawnee were relocated to Oklahoma with only their corn seed, and the corn seed would never, ever, ever grow in Oklahoma's land. And so through Joan Henry, who was part of a traveling theater group that went Broadway with the message of the cranes. It was called a GJAC, which means crane, and the show was called a GJAC, Crane of the Earth, Crane of the Sky. But the main important piece of this was the story about the corn seed returning, and how this grandmother teaches this crane the lessons it needs to become its fullest expression and fly and return home. And through what happened with this show, Joan Henry met a woman who was actually Pawnee, who happened to be watching the show and was in tears, came to her. And what evolved was this seed restoration project, Pawnee Seed Restoration Project, where a woman named, Ronnie, who was living in Nebraska, Hastings, Nebraska, her commitment was to the return of the native foods of Nebraska. When she heard about the seed, she came to the Pawnee living in Oklahoma and said, if you will trust me, I will promise to bring the seed back to Nebraska and we will start growing it again, because it had not grown. And in the past 3 years, I'm going to just kiss my granddaughter. Hi, Baba.
Okay, give Grandma a kiss.
So hold this with a breath.
Give Grandma a kiss.
Okay.
Okay.
Love you.
Let's give
Why are we doing this? For the children, right? We're doing this for the children. So she said, if you trust me, I will, and work with me, I will promise to bring it back. So long story short, 3 years later, they have brought the original, and we're focusing on right now on the eagle seed, which most people don't know about, that through creating the conditions for the seed to grow, the seed is now, the corn is now growing back in Nebraska. So the power of what's happening in this,
Sorry.
laughter. No, it's fine. Laughter is cool. So the power of what's happening is that on this particular day, September 9th, we have the opportunity to be part of a lot of giggling and laughter and this coming together of native wisdom with this evolutionary consciousness, this willingness to come back together as one nation. And that is the essence of the really the caravan of unity, but specifically will be happening on September 9th. So we're going to open, and what's magically happened, I mean, there's been so many amazing pieces, but, and also the other piece that came in yesterday is that it's the place where we all know where Crazy Horse was murdered at 36 years old in Nebraska. There will be also Chief Phil Lane Jr. Has a particular connection with Crazy Horse and his family. He's already contacted them. And there will be this, in the evening, there will be some type of ceremony done for the healing and restoration of that relationship as well. So the day begins, so as Radical Earth Heart Resonance, the day begins, we've been gifted, this is so unbelievable, Rose Sanctuary, which is a part of the Audubon group, has allowed us to do the fire, the blessing, beginning with the fire. The river is low enough that we can have a fire in the center of the river with the native indigenous from Omaha are going to, I'm getting on a call in a half hour with all of them to see how we're going to make it happen, to have a fire ceremony, a water blessing coming from Kearney, Nebraska, and moving into this day of beginning with the mother's heartbeat. So there'll be a drum beat going throughout the entire day in the connection field. I'm not going to get into all the rest of the details. We'll be sharing more tomorrow. But basically for us to be listening tonight to what is wanting to come through, what is the land speaking? And so finally, everyone's on board to listen to the land. Because this land, being the fact it is literally the geographical center of the United States, shifted a little bit because depending on where you put Alaska, but the tech crew right before it gets to Nebraska is going up from Colorado, where they're doing a lot of work on the sands, all the sacred sites in Colorado, and then they're going up to Standing Rock to work with Brother Chief Phil Lane on I don't exactly know all the details, and then coming to Nebraska. So, and from there, the caravan begins to be about Black Lives Matter, on gun, and moving forward. So we in the heartland have a chance to really create this powerful energy grid of light and love moving out throughout the United States, and who knows what Peter's going to share about the Trail of Tears, but it feels like something very powerful is moving, and so I think that's enough for right now. Please just get the digest. You'll see more in there. Come to the Mentoring Stewards call tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. You'll hear more about it there. But there's something really shifting. Oh, the one other magical piece is that yesterday I was on a call with Ben Bowler, who is really the founder, is the director behind this whole thing. And what was happening was they were sending a torch across the country for unity, a unity torch. But there was nothing about the water. And we supported this. What happened was, from yesterday on, they're going to be listing every water source that they're crossing across the nation. And they'll be taking samples of that water, bringing it to each stop, blessing that water, having it be part of a water ceremony, and then carrying it on to the next stop. And finally, when it reaches on, well, it's heading toward 11 days of unity and peace weekend in wherever, Pennsylvania. And then when it gets to the Washington Mall, they're going to read out every water body that has been touched and blessed along this way, and bringing it to Washington, D.C. and doing a final blessing there. So beyond that, I don't know. I know this has been a lot, but I just, honestly, as planetary healers and grid workers and light beings, anyone who's listening to this, that we're inviting you to be part of this in whatever way you feel. Or if you have some idea that isn't shaped yet, or you want to make a video, a 3-minute video that can be played during that day, that whatever it is, I'm just opening the field here for that to be part of the expression. Knowing, and then the other thing that happened was the Audubon Society are so blown away. Like they said, listen, if it's going to be just white people doing a blessing, we're not into it. But when they heard about what we're doing, the Audubon Society, I know you laugh. I know we all laughed. Well, if I really told you what they said, you would really laugh. Okay, I'll tell you. They said, if it's just going to be 10 wealthy, white, rich men standing tall on the land, forget it. We're not doing it. But when they heard what we were doing and the intention behind it, and that the indigenous people of the land were coming back, they want to send this out through the Audubon. They're going to promote it. They want people to know what we're doing through the entire Audubon Society all over the world. So I think that this is very beautiful, and I leave it at that. I'm going to stay on, obviously, for more, but I'm not going to say any more. Charlie, you are the host, and let's open it up to everyone bringing your voice. Please share your land where you are. If you know your watershed or a river near you, like bring that into the field, because we're still weaving that in and holding the grids that have already been done. And what's moving in you, what's lighting up your grid. So with that, I'm complete. Thank you for receiving that. I know it was long. Blessings. Aho. Ahe. Takwirasan.
Woo, Shelley, how do we take a break from that? Wow, it's so powerful. So I offer this Lemurian crystal here, just to balance the energy of all that you have brought forth to us, knowing that within the heart of Mother Earth, there are many beings jumping for joy as a result of each of us coming together in our own unique and particular ways as part of this caravan that's, even if we just found out about it in this moment, moving across this country. So with that, I open it up to anyone who feels called in the moment to bring something forward. Peter, Shelley mentioned you several times, and so I'm going to offer the microphone to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, Peter Shampoo. I'm in southeastern Arizona, about 20 miles from Tombstone. And it's been very dry and hot, and we just had a break in the weather. Had cool nights for the first time in a while. We've had 110 temperatures up in Phoenix, and we're usually about 10 degrees less than that here. So yeah, so my life and times have been focused around this New Madrid fault area that I mentioned last time I was on, but you know, since the last time we spoke, I've written an article for a new Observations magazine, which is something that's been around since '83. It's an arts rag out of New York City and Chester, Vermont. But it was quite an interesting process. Just, you know, always when you write something up, new revelations come to the fore. It's certainly the case with this. Fortunately, it's the article won't be, you know, it kind of explains everything I've been trying to explain around this project, but it won't be available until the 20th of September. I did do an interview with the editor of this new Observations, and she has a blog talk, a radio program that's sponsored by Whitney Strieber. His name is Whitney Strieber. He's Unknown Country. He's a fellow that had ET contact back in the 70s, I think, in upper state New York, and has written a number of books about the other side. The unknown country is the fifth dimension. It's you know, the land of the ancestors. But since introducing this New Madrid Earth ring to you all, and getting it into the consciousness of the heart field of the planet, we had a hurricane arrive, and the hurricane, Laura, came right up past New Orleans and came right to New Madrid and took a right. You know, like it was, I don't know, had a consciousness of some kind, and then it went due east over to Amani's place. So I watched the weather with great interest, and that was followed by an earthquake in New Madrid. It was a small one, a 4.5 or something. So the mother seems to be responding to this call to release the trauma that's in the land there. And since putting this out, I've learned that there have been many ceremonies to release the Trail of Tears, release the energies along the Trail of Tears. This is just another effort to do just that. So I've been, you know, kind of a question I have for everyone has to do with the coherent heart. You know, I'm a person of, you know, these are tools that I develop, but how you use these tools, you know, what the energy you put into these tools is how they function. And I'm trying to get a hold of this whole idea of the coherent heart right now, and what that is, and what that means, and how to do that simply, and how to introduce that to people who have, you know, haven't done much spiritual work in their life, you know, because, you know, look around the world and you know, just everybody's just the heart's out of coherence. And I think that's a lot to do with the spiritual recovery of America. We've gotten so much in our heads that you don't know what's up anymore because your head always lies to you. and the heart, that's where the truth lies. So that's what I've been up to, and yeah, so I'm complete.
I'm just going to pop in one more minute because I'm going to go, and this is kind of what's been happening all day, because honestly, the connection field was birthed from the consciousness of heart coherence and what that is. And of course, there's the alignment and resonance with heart math, and they do their own heart coherence piece, and the science of heart coherence. That's what they've been all about for years. And we are connected with them. But here, this is why it came about, that it was called Radical Earth Heart Resonance. It was like, how do we feel that? How do we embody that expression of heart coherence? Because if we are that expression and we come together as a collective, because that was exactly how the Sacred Evolutionary Dowsing Consortium came together, was around, yes, the water bearers, but the water flows through that heart vibrational field, the mother. So this is who we be. I love that you brought this up. And, this is what we want to be working with. This is why this group has coalesced to continue this work of heart coherence on the planet. So I'm excited to do more, and Charlie and Tyson and I tried to get together last week because we're listening for, okay, well, where do we go from here? What do we want to do after we've spent all this time on Imani's land? What is calling us forward? So I would say that this heart coherence is at the evolutionary impulse of whatever that is. So thank you. I love you. I'm looking forward to watching the replay. I will just try to touch base with Tyson and have a good time. There's no time you have to leave the space. But I need to go open up the other Zoom room. Oh, so because I'm meeting with those indigenous elders and women, and Matt, who's a historian who knows all about everything about, it's been his life work to discover all about Nebraska and Oklahoma and probably the Trail of Tears. So we're going to meet together and listen for how to open up that day together. So, and how that's going to be. So with that, I love you all. Play on, Imani. Bring your energy, your voice. Miranda, Bridget, Claudia, Cherylistic, Julie, who's listening, and Karen, we love you.
Thank you, Shelley. And
Have a
check
good
back.
night, Shelley.
Check back, because I have no clue what I'm doing. So I'll be here until 8 in the morning when you come back on.
Well, yeah, right. So you can go. I would invite everyone just to put your email in the chat, so that if something comes up that we can be involved in, or we want you to be involved in for the caravan, yeah, just put it in there. So blessings, everyone. Love you.
I'll
See
be
you.
Good night, Shelley.
Yeah, so this is really one of the questions that arose after last week's meeting was, where does this go from here? And as you can hear tonight, it's unfolding on its own. It's not under the direction of any one of us, but as really a part of the whole collective heart that we are, and we're all engaged in this. So with that being said, I'd love to hear from anyone to see what's coming up for them, whether it is in relationship to what Shelley said or Peter said, or if something's coming up individually, because we're here as this collective heart. And so I'll just leave the floor open at this point for whoever feels the call to speak. Yeah.
I feel called to speak some connections. So Peter, there was an earthquake here as well. Did you catch that?
On
Maybe
the border of Virginia?
It was in North Carolina, actually.
Yeah,
It was close to the.
3 weeks ago?
Yeah, yeah, and I felt that here, um, and so that paralleled the, before the storm and after the storm. And then the waters coming across the country and the documentation of that. I am very connected with a piece of land in the Catoctin Mountains named Hawkwood Farm, and the neighbor to that property is Audubon land. And it's where the source water comes for Rock Creek, which is the water that goes down into Washington, D.C., and then feeds into the water of the reflecting pool. So there is an invitation available for the caravan to go to that land. And I've said that to Shelley before, but I want to say it on this recording. I want to say it to us as a collective, so that, because I'm really seeing this conscious gathering of the water, blessing of the water, going to the earth-based place where the water informs Washington, D.C. It seems like it's, I just am feeling strongly. Every time I think about the caravan, I think about that place and those waters connecting. And I feel complete for the moment.
Well, if I could pipe in again. The things that came to mind when you were speaking of it is this idea of the waters, and how again, New Madrid is at the confluence of all these rivers that come right together. They're just north of New Madrid, Tennessee. And if you look at our own systems, look at the Earth as a biological system, where the waters come together is where the heart is. So that area of the country seems to be the heartland, as far as the blood flow of the mother is coming in through that way. There's another strange coincidence. It's just the product of the Coriolis spin of the planet. All the major rivers of the world empty into the 30th parallel. So the Mississippi, Colorado, Ganges, Yangtze, Nile. They're all come into this point, almost as if that's the heart of the planet. It's where the waters come in. So yeah, I see the water as something that informs everything. Last time I spoke about how nebula are creating oceans at a rate of 60 oceans a day or an hour, or some absurd amount of water being generated within and that water bonds, and that bond then creates solar systems come out of these, and then the deep primary waters are what are informing the surface of the earth of all these patterns, that water makes, these bubbling Dr. Emoto patterns. And if we use patterns that the earth has given us, then you can speak with the earth through these patterns. And I don't know. I mean, I really dig what the Unity Caravan is doing, but I don't see it connecting into a lot of the earth energy spots that are, there's more of a, from what I've heard, it sounds like it's more of a cultural thing. So it's perhaps trying to create a cultural unity, but a unity field with the planet is some other animal altogether. And that's really been my work, is to try to create a unity field, to bring culture together, bring these divisions together, create a whole. There's a lot of work being done with heart fields. Like I am heart. I learned of recently, a friend here in Tucson. We knew each other at a Sufi community in New York State called the Abode of the Message. And Quran is now heading up this thing called IamHeart.org, I think it is. And it's just a very simple teaching where he was going to make an app out of it or something. But there's something, I'm not sure where I'm going with all this, but there's a relationship between the heart and water, and the bonding. Please, Charlie.
What you're saying is really important, and a reason I'm following you, and for many of us, it's a challenge to put those pieces together in a logical manner for the two halves of our brain to actually grasp it. But when we talk about, and I'll bring it back to water, when we look at the water of the earth, I believe it's about 65% of the water of Earth existed before our sun did. Okay, now that's maybe hard to even imagine, but the water forms in space, and Peter probably knows about the process. I just know that it happens, and it flows. And so the water here on planet Earth that's within the inner core of Mother Earth is older than our sun. And on a molecular level, our bodies are, some say, 99% water on a molecular level. So when we talk about the heart and water, the energy, and I'll bring in the grid lines, what we realize, or at least I see it as this, they're all connecting, just like in our bodies, the nerves, the veins. These are the grid lines within our body, and we are physically an extension of Mother Earth. And over our evolutionary process, we have distanced ourselves out away from the natural neuroenergetic patterning of Mother Earth's life, her existence, through our thinking, through our storytelling. The indigenous elders carried that message in their ceremonies, in their songs. And over time, it got passed down and got changed again. So right now, we're coming through this process where each one of us, as we open ourselves to our hearts to receive the energies, we are technically bypassing the mind confusion and actually tapping to it empathically. And for me, it's been a journey of trusting that. So I started with dowsing rods. I'll just share my story. I died 28 years ago and came back to life. So I'm what you would call a near-death experiencer. And my whole purpose here is to anchor peace, light, and love into all living forms, whether I understand them as living or not. And how do we do that really is through our heart, not through our head. What I've learned in 28 years, and I share with other people, is that when we start to think about something in this process of healing and whatever, we create an energetic charge that distorts the frequency. Okay, now scientists can say yes or no, whatever. But I know from my own experience that when I share with people, when you open your heart, you open this heart field, fear is what shuts it down. And the more fear we're fed, the less love will come forth from our heart. But this is a radiant field. And if we can keep our hearts open and just use the mind to focus the direction of that energy, we all become co-creators. And this is what happens in this field right here, in that pattern of 12 around 1. And we come back to is really, it's a sacred geometric pattern where there are 12 points around one initial point. And so it doesn't matter where you are, somebody is going to see the whole from one position. So together, doesn't matter if there's 12 or 155, we each will be sitting in one of those positions and we operate as a whole. And when we do that, we automatically go into a frequency shift where the energy that we bring through us, through our hearts, connects and creates transformation and transmutation. And when it's aligned with grids, when we connect, not just consciously, but connect with the grids, we send it through those grid lines. So I think it's Hagen's map or something. I mean, if you look at planet Earth, there's grid, it's covered. It looks like the inside of a golf ball with grid lines. And that's what I experienced through crystal skulls. That's where I was taken, and that's where my practice of working with grid lines came from, was to go into this dimension where that's all there is. There is nothing else. So again, this is all part of why we're gathering, and each one of us have sort of connected, because in some way we're all doing this. We're just not always consciously doing it. So heart groups basically is just open your heart and allow that energy of love to flow. So here we get back to the water, flow. What do we do with energy? We allow it to flow. When it's flowing, if you think of a river, how many vortexes are in a river and flowing water? So we, as a collective, begin to co-create all of that, that dynamo of energy that transmutes and transforms everything in its path. And I think this is we've witnessed with Amani's land, and we've become a part of, and it's not so much that we understand it in order to speak it, but that we feel it in order to do it. So I don't know whether I've confused people or gave them some information, but please take what I say and realize that each one of us are these amazing beings, amazing, amazing beings who have this opportunity right now in the shifting of the whole planetary existence within its galaxy, and the galaxy is shifting within its, to practice this, to own this, to tap into it and make it work, not in a selfish manner, but to bring everything back into balance. And that's what we've done, is we become extremely unbalanced. So I'm just going to leave that in the field. Thank you for listening. Tyhson, it's a pleasure to see you here, brother. And we've been talking about the traveling across the country of, I don't remember. See, my human brain doesn't work very well. My higher mind does. Whatever
The caravan of unity.
Unity, there you go, thank you, Claudia. So all of you will have to speak in third dimension, and I'll leave the rest of the stuff. And how we, in this heart earth resonance, things are connecting around us, and we're seeing them, and we're seeing it all happen. Almost, well, I call it synchronistically. Because that's synchronicity is a language. So what's happening, the way I understand it, is as we create this heart resonance and we live and work in that field, we create the synchronicity because it's actually the language of our heart moving and making things happen. So I leave that open to anybody who wants to jump in. I'd love to hear what somebody else says. I listen to myself enough. Thank you.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi, this is Karen in Costa Rica. The Arenal watershed, which feeds into Lake Arenal and Lake Cote, which is a crater lake. Wow. I loved hearing your story, Charlie, that you gave me some pieces of information that was needed for the project that Peter and I have been speaking of. So that's helpful. So thank you very much. My assignment is creating a new paradigm of being. How do you do that? Well, we're figuring it out, aren't we? And this is one major way. Ever since I connected with Peter, especially more recently, I've been hearing more about the work. I've come to be told that it's extremely important. And now I'm understanding more and more why this is one of the most important pieces of how we're going to create a new paradigm on this planet. And when you talked about the water and the primary water and how things are formed, I've always felt the earth was not as they told us it was, but I've always felt these bodies of water connect all through the planet, you know, and literally. And I've been being led to locations. At first I thought it was just for the community projects, but now I know it's for a lot more. I've been led to numerous locations and some new grid being formed, or how we're to put certain energies in some of these places that will help shift things. And by the way, we had an earthquake here last week in Costa Rica. It was about a 6.0 off the coast of Jaco. I don't know if that's any connection to ones up there, but I felt it, and I'm not near Jaco, although it's not a big country mile-wise.
Did we lose you, Karen?
We lost you, Karen. You're frozen.
Hi, this is Cheryl. I'll step in unless she comes back. I am right now up in Alaska on the Kenai Peninsula on Kenai Lake, which is a glacial lake. I assume that the waters come directly from underneath the earth because it is fed by some rivers, but no major glacier is here at this time. We had some major weathers come through, which I could feel with this really strange kind of radiant heat going from hot to cold in the atmosphere. I just kept hearing temperature gradient, and the storm came in to the Aleutian Islands at 120 miles an hour. I was across from the volcanoes in Cook Inlet, and experienced about 100-mile-an-hour winds and some really high surge with some extreme high tides of upwards to 20 feet or so. So the top of the earth is really talking, and I know I'm an connected to the Trail of Tears and everything in my lifetimes doing is traveling around and connecting up these points, being led, not sure why and not conscious, although I'm seeing a pattern that's becoming very conscious. So my intention is to get support to make this conscious, and that I venture from Alaska through Canada, connecting the lines, the nomadic lines, which have been kind of stalled at this time, which I think that thread goes through all of what we're talking about, that the nomadic lines of everything, the peoples have been stalled. And then one huge thing is coming up is I know we're all talking about water and how we are water, but we are blood. Blood is thicker than water. So my question, I know for me up on the top, and when I went up to the Arctic Circle, was that the mother's blood is being taken out into the pipeline. And my question is, in the ley lines and the meridians and everything that's happening in the heartland and in my land, is where is the oil? Has it been extracted? Is it still intact? Because that is like an origin of the blood also that have been channeled out. So yeah, blood is thicker than water. Keeps on repeating. 10 times, that's all I can say. Energetically, my body's feeling all of it. The moon is very intense right now. Had a breakdown, my body, I'm falling, all these things are trying to take me off center. So thank you all for being here for me. And again, I ask for support in any way possible for all of us for our journeys. Thank you, Karen. Go ahead. I love you.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm sorry I missed some of yours. That was one of our famous power outages. And when the power goes out, so does the modem and the internet until it comes back on. So I watch for the lights to come on, the modem. When all 3 lights are on, I have the internet again. I've lost my train of thought though. I missed some of what you're saying, but I'd love to connect with you more too, because it looks like a lot of us are being led to locations and seeing connections between the locations. That's been happening to me for years now.
We lost you, Karen, when you were speaking of how the waters are all somehow connected.
Oh, I have felt that all my life I have felt that there was an inner earth, and I felt that it wasn't what they told us. And I've heard other people say that's true, that it's really a crystal center, and that I felt that all these waters are connected through the planet, and so the energy and the information flows everywhere. And some of the locations I've been led to are places where people say they're bottomless lakes. Well, where do they go? They gotta have, either they have a bottom, or maybe they are connected totally through the planet. Lake Cote is one of those. Hubbard Lake in Michigan is one of those, and some of the others, that some of the locations that have been lining up. So I don't know where it's all leading, but the healing of these energy lines, and you talked about, Peter, what you've wanted to do, like this caravan's doing, but with the energy and the grid lines. I can't remember how you put it, but when you said that, I'm like, yes, we need to do that. That's another project, Peter, all connected. But again, if everything is connected in that way, then it may connect up to the global pyramid one too somehow. And now with what Charlie talked about, the ceremony and that rang true for. I suddenly had a vision of, remember I had the circles of people, and it's like, that's it. It's what Charlie just talked about. That's how we do it. So I can see things coming together a lot quicker now after days of not much of anything coming through. It is now. So I'm very grateful for the call and all of you, because I know how important this is if we're going to move this, if we're really going to make it this time. If we're, this is the precipice, we're at it, and it's doable. And so I think we can do this if we all work together. So that's all I can think of at the moment. I'm not sure where it's all going yet, but I see some dots connecting tonight now. So this is kind of awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, this is important for all of us to realize that as individuals, we feel alone and separate and not very powerful. But as you can see, when we gather in a group that is holding the energy of a sacred geometric pattern, so the sacred evolutionary dowsing group, we use 12 around 1. But I think, Peter, you said 9 around 1, or so there can be many sacred geometric patterns that give off different frequencies. And so the reality is that group structure, no matter how many is in the group, you honor the energy of that structure. So as I've said, I was guided to work in triads. I was given 3 points of land to find in Maine, southwestern Maine here. One is a beach in Kittery. One is Mount Agamenticus, which is my watershed. And the other one is Nubble Light, where the land meets the ocean when the world was Pangea and separated. And that coast of northern Maine was aligned with the northwestern coast of Africa. They were together. And the volcanoes that came across Canada flowed out into the ocean. And Mount Agamenticus was one of those. It wasn't a volcano, but it was part of that structure. And the next active volcano is like the Azores. So when we look at the planet and how it's moved over thousands of, maybe even millions, I don't know, of years, we realize that this is still a growing being. This is still a being rather than a planet, a rock, a meteor, whatever, science. And science can't fully grasp the, how do I want to say this, the living presence of Mother Earth. And that's what we're doing now. We are tapping into the living presence through the water, through the light, and through the love of our hearts. So this is it's an evolutionary process. That's why we call the sacred evolutionary dowsing, because we're just stepping outside of the box and saying, yeah, we can do this. Watch. And we're actually have proved things to ourselves that we wouldn't have fathomed possible before. And just like you're experiencing right now, these aha moments, it's not because, I'm trying to convince you to think like me, but each one of you are being triggered by the field because you have your hearts open, and Mother Earth's heart's always open, and you're connecting without interference. So yeah, anybody else? Does that bring anything else up for anybody else? Because I'm open to listening to any aspect that you are willing to
I,
put forward.
I'd love to pipe in. Charlie, when you were talking, a couple of things came to mind, just like when Karen came on. And there was two things. When we were talking about the heart and stuff like that, very basically, I look at it and my resonation with it is kind of like the difference between thinking about cooking for your family, okay, and making a meal. Or when someone does it with that heart and with that love, the food turns out differently. The intention that's set in it is different. Okay, so again, when we take things from the thought process down to the heart process, it has a different flavor. It has a different taste. It has a different energy. The second thing I wanted to mention that came up for me was talking about our body, how it's like, 70, 80, whatever the number is, percentage of water. We are definitely more water in this outfit than anything else. Everybody, I don't know if you've heard Emoto's theory on water and the molecules and how we change them. So the way I look at Mother Earth and her waters, I look at that as the macrocosm. And my body, part of Mother Earth, is a microcosm. I have to be able to shift the microcosm first so that it echoes out and it affects the community's macrocosm to then affect the country's macrocosm to then affect the world's macrocosm. So I look at it as Emoto's, again, we start at the core. When we make those changes at the core, then we can change everything else, or everything else around us is changed. So kind of, that's what came to me in really kind of simple basics was Emoto's theory with our body and Mother Earth, the correlation and the difference of doing things with the thought, like the cooking, instead of with the heart. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you all.
Thank you, Claudia. That's a beautiful, peaceful, gentle way of expressing that, and it's so true and valid. And it brings it back to our humanity rather than clouding the mind with science and figuring it out. Yes, Bridget, did you want to say something? Or yeah, go ahead, right ahead. Just jump right in. We're all in the water together.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've got headphones on.
Yes.
Wow, so grateful to be here with you. Right before the last like 4 or 5 shares, I started getting a download that I don't understand, but it started to make sense after hearing what everybody was sharing. I see tectonic plates shifting, water table shifting. There is an event happening under the Earth's surface. I think it's related to the energy grid and what you all were talking about. And something about the lungs of Mother Earth and our lungs. And as I thought about that, I centered in on the heart. And as we feed the Mother Earth with our hearts, things are shifting in a good way. So this opportunity that I am taking at this time in our collective story to heal the wounds of the past and embody what true heart feeling is. And remembering what I shared in Imani's circle today about a ceremony I did after September 11th up in Battleground, Washington, where I invited people to reach down underneath the brokenness in ourselves and our families and communities and world to the wholeness that is always there. And to bring that wholeness up, visualize maybe the heart of the mother coming on up and helping move that stuck energy from our lives, past lives, ancestral memories, the trails of tears, and all the different cultures, races throughout time. This is good work we're doing, and I'm grateful to be among us. Thank you, everybody. I feel complete at this time.
Thank you, Bridget. And let's all take a deep breath at that transmission that she shared with us. Because this is what happens. This is how simple it happens. The information appears, maybe not to all of us, but to one of us. And in that moment, because we're working as a cohesive field, we share it. And then it's in that sharing that everything comes to life. And so ceremony is important and has always been important. If you look at our indigenous elders and ancestors, ceremony was very important because ceremony came from the heart. When they play the heartbeat, play the heartbeat, the mother on the drum, this was the connection, the energetic connection that they didn't think about. They just knew. They knew this was how they communicated with Mother Earth. We are coming back into that space. We are letting go of all of the interference, if you will, that keeps us from making that meal versus sharing food with love and the intention of healing and nurturing. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. That's what we've done with Amani's land. That's what you have all witnessed with that each one of us coming together and doing that. And I'm sure Amani probably can say what she's felt as that has taken place and is still ongoing, even though we're not so finitely focused on it. And so I would just like to hear an update from Amani as to what she's feeling through the land.
I'm in the chamber because I have a timber rattler in my wood pile.
Okay.
So that's, awesome and scary and natural order and representing the wild being close and I'm inviting lots of black snakes to come so that the rattlers and the copperheads will go further into the forest and the people can come close to the chamber. Feeling really good with my decision to release 109, which is the house site where the fire was, and I'm accepting the opportunity to actualize a new paradigm by trading that place for 5 to 7 years of support to actually build up here, to take care of the roads, to have serious help, because all of the help that I've had to this point has been financially based, and it's been really important to renovate this place and to take the black mold out and the water out and bring the song back in, and to, you know, do the work that we've done with the land. And I honestly don't know very many people who could have taken on this project and been successful. And being in this circle has been my PhD experience, and you know, y'all are my team who has like proved to my heart that that all of the work that I've done here and we've done here in the last, you know, 6 years that I've been personally responsible to, and then the you know, 30 years ago with Joseph and beautiful Painted Arrow and the community here, and Richard Crutchfield, and how he came to this land and said, whatever you're doing, Amani, just keep doing it. And like that, you know, he was a well-known dowser in this area, and brilliant, beautiful man, and was present when Joseph blessed the chamber and told me some things about the land back then. And so, yeah, I felt kind of nervous, but I feel really excited about actualizing a new way of like making sure that this person who's going to work with me has a home place for he and his daughter, and, you know, and we're in a place that replicates to the entire universe, so to the entire planet, so that my joy in seeding consciousness into new levels of reality for the world, for the practical aspect of it, as well as the spiritual aspect.
Thank you for allowing us and inviting us to be a part of this, because this is why we're all here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I mean, I feel the ripples into the other chambers. I haven't really, like, I'm the person who came to the chamber that doesn't know Joseph, that has never walked with him, that has never done a dance, that came into this building and felt the potential within the frequency, and said, and knew that if I was ever given the opportunity to help make the world a better place, that I would show up and do it. And this is what I've been given. So yeah, so it's definitely, it's ready. It's I want y'all to keep doing what y'all are doing and what we all are doing, and keep doing it through here. And you know, it's a powerful generating space that each and every one of you have helped to recalibrate. And I really like the deep heart of the Mother Earth is so grateful. The council is so grateful. There is so much energy here for you to tap into. You know, just put your offerings down on the ground and say, hey, Amani sent me, and like, you are welcome. And know that things happen through this place.
Thank you for that beautiful offer. And the only, I just want to say, it's been a joy to be here. I'm not a public person, so for me to carry on for an hour and a half, although I can talk forever, but I don't do this often. So it's been a joy to be with you, as I feel you as my family. And Tyhson, you're pretty quiet tonight. You get a night off. So what might you have to bring to our beautiful circle tonight?
Well, I would say that Amani sort of rang a bell that ricocheted through the world. Certainly the council that's come around that land has certainly ricocheted through my life and through the 12 around groups that I'm working with. The Oneness Network of Light, which is working with child abuse and trying to rectify the injustice that's done both in the court systems and through social welfare with the children and abduction. The results that we've been getting from that group in bringing about resolution by using 12 around 1. I think it's a direct reflection of working with Amani's land and feeling that energy of that council of, let's call it elders for lack of better words. Also, Charlie, your work with 3 in the landscape, or the triad, which I've discovered is actually a tetrahedron. And I've been guided to work with 3 key mountains in the landscape with others in the boots on the ground geomancy certification course. And just got a report from the Slocan Valley. One of the members out there is on a 2-week vacation, but actually doing work in the landscape by doing ceremony in the Mount Valhalla, which is in the Slocan Valley, which is, and bringing light to that area. So, Amani, I just want you to know that it's just like throwing a rock into a pond. The ripples are just continuing to grow and grow and grow from the work that we did together on your property. I don't know, it sort of created something new that I wasn't aware of, and allowed the guidance to flow more coherently in the work that I'm doing. So just got back from swimming in Shuswap Lake. I'm sorry that I'm late. And then I guess, Charlie, you were to be in charge because I could get none of the codes to work for a good 15 to 20 minutes or half an hour. So Charlie, we're obviously supposed to be front and center and leading the show. So the quiet one had to stand forward and let her rip. So
it's always fun. It's always fun. So I'm gonna show you. So I just wanted to just briefly talk about the 12 around 1. If I share screen, what do I got to do? Share screen. I can do this. Yeah, there you go. I can be human. All right, there you go. So hopefully you can see that. And what you'll see is a stone that's in the middle that was gifted to me by the beach of one of my points of my original triad, which when I visit them, Mother Earth is always giving gifts just to remind me of where I belong to. So I work with crystal skulls. And so there's 12 skulls around that grid. And that's what I create to represent the Sacred Evolutionary Dowsing Consortium. However, what I share with you right now is that each of you can create your own grids out of anything. It doesn't have to be crystal skulls. It can be stones that you find that Mother Earth offers you. And you can create this grid in your own home and with a centerpiece. And if you work in groups with other people, you don't necessarily have to have 12 people. So in our group, sometimes we go from 6. We've had 12, I think, at one time, or any mix or match. So what we do is we choose places to represent each of us. And then we choose elementals or spirit guides or angels to sit in the other seats. So what we're doing is representing Earth, Spirit, and ourselves as this collective whole. And that creates that field of energy. And so that's sort of the connection point. And that's how I explain. It's sort of the connection point to all that is, all that we don't understand, all that we don't have to understand, but we need to embrace and invite into our consciousness in order to receive the messages, to receive the information that's needed. And then when we work together, as we have in this, group, and this is what we're doing live, is to show people how really simple it is. It's not about how smart you are or how much you know, but how open can you keep your heart, and for how long. So I offer that to each of you, just to think about in your own daily walk, and the work that you're doing. It doesn't have to be technically structured in a certain way. It's just opening the heart to allow that energy of that sacred geometry to flow. And as Tyhson said, he's used that principle in other groups, and it's basically the same concept. It's the same concept, and it's really a powerful, it's a tool that has been given to us for thousands of millions of years, for our whole existence. We just have forgotten to hold that circle. Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Charlie. It's funny because I'm going to take a version of your what you just showed us. Since we got the land, I've done festivals, or we've done ritual and ceremony at a couple of different locations. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when we got the land, we have a big, huge boulder. Like, it's like 7 feet wide, and it's about 7.5 feet tall. The thing is massive. And there's another platform, another rock that's huge. And I mean, it's big enough to probably lie 2-3 people down. And we call that the altar space. So when we do ceremony up there, we lay our stuff on that rock. Well, it's interesting because a close friend of mine has 100 acres. And for years, we've been doing ceremony there. And when we got the land, I asked her if we could exchange a rock. So she gave me a rock, and I gave her a rock from my land. And I've done that with 3 other places. So there's 4 rocks sitting around that big altar right now. And I didn't know what I was going to do with them. I am going to collect 12 of properties where we're going to tie in, and I'm going to create that. So thank you very much for sharing that, Charlie.
It's really, this is the thing that has amazed me over the years I've been doing this work, is how simple it is. My mind wants to, and people want me to go into some deep explanation, and I keep saying it's really simple.
Well, I felt the energy, like I needed to exchange, a rock from each place, take our energy there for support, and we'll bring your energy here for support.
Absolutely.
But putting it around like that, kind of like, a special little altar and stuff like that, is kind of like pumping it up to the next level.
What it's doing is creating a field of energy on its own. And so therefore, then you can actually tap into that anytime you need energy. So this is another way you can use it personally. When you need energy, you just think about that circle and call the energy in. And, so this is a circle. You can use it I'm being guided. You can use it with pretty much any sacred geometrical shape. On Mount Agamenticus, I've created what would be considered a star tetrahedron on the top of the mountain, and it's made of rose quartz hearts that I placed, and I placed it in 2 triads. And so again, I'm guided by the beings that I communicate with. So I'm never alone in what I'm doing. I'm basically the hands and feet of the ground. And so too are you in many ways when you open yourself up to stop telling yourself, oh no, that's a crazy thought. And we have that ability to overwrite what we're really being guided to do. And so I encourage each one of you in whatever journey you're on to listen to that voice and say, okay, so what if I do that? What if I do that? What if I take this and I move that there? And then allow that energy allow yourself to feel that. Because this is what we're doing right now, is we're really learning to trust. And I don't know whether it was trust came up in the beginning of this call or it was the last call I was on at the end. But what we really need to do right now is trust. We need to trust ourselves first. We need to trust each other. And most certainly we need to trust the guides, whether they're spirit guides or elementals or galactic. It doesn't, angels, it doesn't, who, what, when, where, how doesn't really play out anymore. This is the shift of the dimensions. That's works in the third dimension. And we're leaving that there in the third dimension, and we're now working from a different aspect of a higher dimension. So we're just opening to who we truly are, these amazing, powerful beings of light and love. And yeah, so let's keep going. I'm good. I'm good all night. I told Shelley to come rescue me because I don't know how to get out of here. So I'm willing to keep going.
Can I ask I would like to ask a question of Bridget, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Ask away.
Bridget, when you were reading off the impressions that were coming to you, you said something about like maybe tectonic plates and some kind of, how did you put that again? You were reading from your notes, I think.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I see and recognize that I'm learning how to do this, right? I'm learning to do what Charlie was just saying, to trust the field, to trust that this information is coming to me for a reason and is meant to be shared. I don't have to understand it.
Correct, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Karen. And what I received was, I see tectonic plates shifting, water table shifting. There is an event happening under the Earth's surface. And I was feeling into that. Is it something related to the 5G or the EMFs that we're blasting the Earth with? I let that go. And I believe it's related to the energy grid, but I don't have clarification. And then,
okay,
yeah.
Go ahead. No, finish.
And then I heard a few speakers speaking, and I tried to tune back in as I was preparing myself to share. And I thought, lungs of the earth, I asked. And I'm picturing my lungs and the heart chakra. And as we feed her, the earth, mother, from our hearts, not thinking to do this, but feeling, that's the work. That's what we can do.
When you started talking about some of this, what started coming to me is, and what just now came to me, that didn't earlier when you said the lungs of the planet. Many people consider the Amazon the lungs of the planet, which are now burning. I live literally where North and South America tectonic plates meet. And I'm not exaggerating, I would drive over it, not far from the house, right where, because they've got the roads better now, but the road used to always crumble there and get bad. In fact, it got real bad at one point, just totally collapsed, but they fixed it eventually, and many years ago. So literally, this is where the center of North and South America meet. When you talked about the plates, you talked about the water table and something moving under the earth. What started coming to mind are some of the theories that have been put out there, besides the possible pole shifts, which we've had small ones anyway. there is a theory of the crust movement, of the crust moving around at some point, shifting like it's happened before on the planet. So I couldn't help wondering if you're picking up on some events that have been predicted by some and talked about, also scientifically with some geologists, I guess, and that. Peter, you would know a lot more about this than me. I pick up bits and pieces all over the place. And you just described a lot of what they're talking about, Bridget. And so I just wanted to put that out there in case then more information might come to you for more clarification about that message, because the ones we get that we don't understand until enough people give us some more information are often the most profound, because we don't need to know to have it come through. Sometimes happens to me a lot. I would get a lot of things that made no sense until more information came. And then it's like, oh, that's what it's about. So yeah. So just being an open channel is to the field is very helpful. So.
And I would add, and thank you, Karen. I always feel it deeply when the Amazon is mentioned. I'm so deeply connected with trees. So when I was inviting that channel to open again, I started to feel really, really heavy-hearted. And so because of the suffering with the earth changes, of all our relations. And so I invite us again to really connect in as often to our spiritual hearts for guidance. I don't know who might need to move to deal with these changes. But I'm feeling great waves and great shaking and a lot more turmoil. So as we add our heart resonant fields together and trust our inner guidance, we can guide ourselves and our loved ones to safe places, places where we'll have all the necessities needed, where others have had the vision before us to gather the food and resources together, and that we can stay connected through our various senses and telepathy to when one of us comes to mind or places on the land come to mind, we can breathe in that heart space and bring more love to those people that come to mind and the places that come to mind, and help with this shift. That's what's coming to me right now.
I would just like to comment on that from a point of view of we're in the midst of COVID-19, which has to do with the lungs, right? Which is connected to the lungs of the planet and our ability to breathe and breathe deep. And we nourish our bodies with prana. And if we look at the lung meridian there in the, in the 5 elements of the Chinese, lungs have to do with grief. So the whole planet is having to deal with grief that has never been resolved before, the trauma that's locked into the geopathic grid lines of the earth. Really what we're doing now is releasing this trauma that's been locked in since centuries. So all the cataclysms of the rising and falling of Atlantis and Lemuria and all those continents before us. And this is the work that we're being called to do as geomancers, is to help Mother Earth birth anew. And the choice is ours. The indigenous legend of the Iroquois nation is that the earth is supported on the back of a giant turtle called Turtle Island. And that if not nurtured and sustained, will roll over and sink beneath the sea. And legend goes on to say it's happened before and it can happen again. Of course, it happened in Atlantis and it happened in Lemuria. And then the legend goes on in the Hopi prophecy and says, and there will come a time when there will be a gathering of the rainbow children on the earth. The four nations will come together and there will be peace on the earth. So we're all earth stewards or eco-spiritual warriors, how you want to look at it, that as stewards of this giant turtle, this living mother, we get to balance out that karmic energy that otherwise will be expressed in, you know, monsoons, floods, earthquakes, tremors, continents rising and lowering. That's the job that we're being called to do. So I love the fact that you're intuiting and feeling this in your heart and in your soul of what indigenous people have been feeling since time immemorial and have been trying to tell the white nation anyway, that it's time to wake up and to be responsible for how we're treating the mother. Anyway, I'll stop there. I could go on like Charlie, on and on and on. So say that's it for now. Thank you.
Tyhson, when you talked about that, especially when
I'd
it
actually like to
got
chime
to
in
the
on,
part of rainbow children, I had goosebumps, chill bumps all over, and I'm not cold. So that tells me that it's time. It's the right time.
okay, I'd actually like to speak to the prophecy thing, because it has been coming up for me. The prophecy is something that has been written that can be changed. It is not set in stone. It's not set in energy. It may have happened before, but we are in a position now to change it. We are laying new grid down. I've been traversing this earth back and forth over the same pathway, wondering why. It's because I'm creating new avenues beyond the prophecies. This is very much passionate. I can feel my blood boiling. I can feel the fire behind it, because another false matrix can be created if we go down the prophecy avenue. We are the ones. Okay, I love you all.
Yeah, we are
So
the
that's
ones
a
we've been waiting for. And that's
Yes,
what the prophecy says. You have an opportunity at this time. Either you step forward as an eco-spiritual warrior and you do the work that you're called to do, which you're doing, or the problem will resolve itself through the prophecy. So yes, we're rewriting prophecy. That's what we're here to do. That's why we burn. We were born here, right? We are the change agents on this planet. We're the doulas for birthing the new earth. That's what we're called to do. So yes, prophecy is only a warning. And yes, we get to rewrite the script any way we want, but let's do it. And that's what I think we're doing around 12, around 1, which we're doing in the Radical Earth Heart Resonance Group and many other groups. And I'd love for all of you to feel called to create your own 12 around 1 group to do the work that you feel called to do as well. So yeah, this is what we're presented with. Let's do it. So thank you for that. Yeah, we're rewriting prophecy. We're the ones that we've been waiting for.
I really want to hear Miranda sing because she's had her guitar from the beginning, and I just have one point of clarification. Did you say Teutonic or tectonic, Bridget? I heard you say Teutonic, and so I looked that up.
I said Teutonic like you wrote, but I don't know what it means.
Okay, so I do. I looked it up. Relating to the ancient Teutons, relating to the characteristic of the Teutons, or German, noting or pertaining to Northern European stock that includes German, Dutch, Scandinavian, British, and related peoples. So I heard the shifting of the tectonic plates, meaning the shifting of those people. And that's like making me go, yay! Because that's a big part of what this shift in these prophecies and these new ways and new paradigms are all about. So I'm going to think about that for the next week. And I want to pass it over to Miranda because I've seen her hand up and I want to hear.
But don't leave before Peter gets to talk again, because he had his hand up too.
Good evening, everybody. I think, not to make it selfish, but I think you guys put this one together for me. Everything, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Everything you guys had talked about today and said tonight, and wow. It's amazing. I'm so grateful for everybody to be here and to listen to your wisdom. And I want to share a bit about my story. And it's a pretty intense story. I, as a small child, connected to the earth and to the land. And I heard and I saw spirits. And that was not a well-received thing in my family. We're talking about like releasing traumas and releasing and moving forward to something greater. And my trust was removed so far that I was actually committed to a psych hospital for my gifts. And then to come to this space where you all talk about the things I have seen since I was a child. And nothing I had studied, nothing I had ever dove into learning, nothing. I just naturally knew it without knowing it. The crystal grid that you make, Charlie, I have made them since I was little. And I made them with rocks, and I made them with leaves and trees and plants. And you can find them through my diaries and my shop. I'm a registered massage therapy in Canada, and the crystal grids are all over, and the sacred geometry is all over. And I hadn't known about it. I hadn't found it until I met my husband about 4 years ago, and he showed me this amazing documentary called The Connected Universe. Well, a delightful man, Nassim Harriman, had made this beautiful documentary talking about the connection of everything. And in all eventuality, it led me here to this space, to this time. And like what an honor it is to see you and to hear you and to know you. And like magic, absolute magic. And I've taken all of that, like the gifts I had, and I put it actually into my clinic, and I do a technique called John F. Barnes myofascial release, but I do a little bit more of a twist to it. So I'm actually like helping people connect with their own source energy, their own source waters, I guess it would be. And like during the sessions, like time does not exist. As soon as we touch, we connect, it's like, boom, there goes 2 hours. And like to be in the like non-existent and existent with people who have never been open to those kind of things in their life. And I moved to Arnprior, Ontario, and I swear like I was called here. I don't know if it's because of where the waters meet. That's the Ottawa and the Mississippi River, I think it's called. I excuse me if I have not said the right rivers, but they meet. And since the moment I got here, like everything in my body was like, bam, this is where you're supposed to be.
Here's one more freak for you, Miranda. A fellow psychic medium in Ontario, Canada, honey. You're not alone. I'm in Ontario.
Thank you. It's amazing. And so, sorry, that was lots. Let me just drop the bomb. Here's some music for you. I'm not going to sing. Not today. Thanks. I'm complete now.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Miranda, for your touching all of our hearts, because we too have stories much like yours. And I apologize for not seeing your hand up there and knowing what it meant. That's my humanness. Yeah. Thank you. And I'm so glad to have you here and to not only share with us your story, but know that you're not alone. And it's time now for all of us with these amazing gifts, whatever they are uniquely, they belong to you uniquely, because each one of us are a unique presentation of all that is. And that's why we're coming together, is so that we're not doing this alone anymore. And let's see, Karen said Peter had something, or somebody said something. Peter, yes, go ahead.
On the edge of my seat. Just 2 points. Try to be succinct here. One is that the Earth is developing a number of additional poles. One is the, we have the North and South Pole, and then we have the anomaly, the South Atlantic anomaly between Africa and South America, which has just grown exponentially in the past month to cover over all of South America, over the Machu Picchu area. And I asked an astrophysicist from Harvard once that, like we were talking about pole shifts and such, and I said, well, if the Earth changes polarity, if North Pole becomes a South Pole, what would happen? And he said that the Earth would turn in a different direction, just like a dynamo. When you shift polarities in a motor, it changes direction. Now the Earth is being bombarded with solar radiation, constantly stripping away its magnetic field. So to maintain its magnetic field, it needs to periodically reset. It needs to periodically renew its field. So what we're seeing now is a lot of chaos and disorganization within the magnetic field. And in the geologic record, you can see where, after these pole shifts, there's a clear polarity between north and south with a kind of donut form coming out of the equator and into both poles. So that's about to happen. We're really on the edge of that. So our work as geomancers and working with Earth's heart resonance, we have to, we as electric beings have to provide that electromagnetic energy to the Earth. We have to somehow pull in that electromagnetic energy, to the Earth in order to keep the civilization going. And I think that's one of the pieces of evolution of a species, is to maintain their planet beyond what the regular cycles are. So, working with these grid lines is very important. The other point I'd like to make is something I brought up. I left in the chat line. I recently heard a video by Harold Klaus Valles, and he's a German researcher that has looked into everything. He's quite a character, but he speaks of this black goo that runs through the ley lines of the Earth that is where the Earth's consciousness is travels. So good thing to look up. But in his conversation, he spoke of how that consciousness is where the intention goes. So in Western societies, you ask people, well, where's your consciousness? And they all say, oh, it's up in my head, because they're always thinking in their head, and they're coming from this place. But you ask an indigenous person who, like we know that the electrical input goes to our brain, and the brain tells us what to do. And so we have this kind of like cognition of it. But indigenous people who aren't, Western, when asked the same question, they say it comes from my heart, because when I speak, I can feel this vibration coming from my heart. And that's simple. Like when I speak from my heart, right? I said that from feeling the vibration in my heart, and that immediately makes it happen. It's like, Jesus, it's that simple. So yeah, good stuff this guy has put together, and he thinks that 25,000 years ago we had a meteor storm that brought an alien black goo onto the planet and kind of hijacked the consciousness of the planet and hijacked us and made us focus on our brain instead of because we're easier to control through our brain than our heart. So, there's a whole lot of other scary stuff there too we talked about, but yeah, fun stuff. Good time to be on Earth, and maybe we can make it through it. I hope.
I'd like to remind you all, you chose to be here now. Whether you understand that or not, this is the greater gift of knowing things that probably a lot of people haven't witnessed unless they die. But yeah, each one of us have made a commitment to be here right now, and we're doing exactly what we have chosen to do. And so for the many who are what we would call, asleep or not understanding, or they're also doing exactly what they're doing, and they will awaken when we shift the energies enough for them to awaken. And that's part of, I see it as a greater responsibility of all of the work that we're doing, whether it's your personal intention or not. As the collective evolutionary path of humanity, it is part of the process. So we're all working together, both collectively and uniquely in our own ways. And it won't be done without us to really just, really to thank ourselves. And it sounds sort of egotistic, but it's not. It's really thanking that higher, what I would call your divine self, but however you want to look at that higher self, that beingness. And know that this is the time we have chosen, as was said earlier, to be here and to do this. And so I'm very thrilled to be able to sit in circle with all of you. And I think let's see what we've gone 2 hours and 15 minutes. And nobody's coming on beyond us, but I know that, wherever you are, you may be getting tired, and I respect that. So I will stay on. I don't have a problem. Just to, give you all a heads up. Yes, Imani.
Can't hear you, Money.
Yeah, got it. I also see that Claudia wants to speak. I want to answer something that you asked about early, Peter, and I just keep hearing it over and over in my head, which is around this: how do we generate this frequency? How do we raise this energy? I really see it work with music. I really see it happen when, there's lots of different ways, but that's my particular gift, is to activate through song, to activate through rhythm, to activate through the instrument. And I think that that's something that I want to be really clear that I bring to the table for this crew. I bring to the table for the groups that you work with. I know that Bridget also has a very strong connection with music, and there's a way in which, it's ideal if there's lots of people playing or singing or toning or meditating together. And there's a handful of people on the planet right now who really have it in their system that can activate what you're talking about. And there's a few of us sitting in this room.
I got chills again, Amani.
Bridget, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, it's just it's something that I have avoided talking about for 35 years of doing this work because it's so powerful. And I'm now feeling like I'm in a group of people who get it, where I can bring it, and you understand that it's not about me talking about this gift that is a resource. This chamber is a resource for this work. This voice, these hands, these other voices are resources to charge what you're talking about, to call in and to charge out.
I just wanted to add too, thank you, Money. I just wanted to add too that I kind of see a little bit of both. Like when you talk about the natural shifts in the earth, and when we talk about, for instance, the flow of water or what the wind does, there's no way that we can control that. We can't think that we can control that. We can try to have as best of a relationship with the elements, but what happens when people build dams? They cause other problems, or the dams end up breaking. You can only control the elements to some degree. Now, what Cheryl was saying about, living into the prophecy, or how we can change the prophecy, I agree with that as well. To me, it's almost kind of like honoring the divine that we are and the power that we hold to imprint or to shift things, but at the same time recognizing that it's not all about ego and what, you know, we can do or how, you know, I'm going to change the water patterns or I'm going to sit there and stop the earth from shaking. I think that's way beyond our scope. I think that in these things, the preparation is also important, because as long as we're prepared and as long as we come together and have a plan, it's almost kind of like when winter comes. You know, you plan for the worst winter, you make sure you have salt, you have your shovel, you have your winter jacket, you have your hat and your gloves and everything. You're holding down in case there's a storm. You don't expect and hope for the storm, but as long as you're prepared, we can tackle that storm better and we can get through the storm. With the tectonic plates shifting, since I was little, I have gotten the visuals of these plates shifting and of the polarities in the world shifting. I was called to buy land. It just so happens that, and I wanted to stay on this side of the major big city, Toronto, so I wouldn't have to go through the horrible traffic. Well, I find myself traveling across Toronto traffic every weekend because the place that I bought, Spirit guided me to, is on the Canadian Shield. The Canadian Shield is some of the most rock solid stuff. If there is a shift, they have said that that area in all of the places is going to be really solid. I had no clue. I was just going with my guidance. I was just going with my intuition and my direction. So I'm not, you know, the prepper type. You know, I'm more of a procrastinator, to be honest with you. You know, I'll wait till the last minute to do stuff. But when Spirit's urging me, or when they're telling me that there's going to be need, when there's telling me to prepare, and it's better to be prepared than not, I will listen. So I find myself on 42 acres doing farm stuff and doing things that I never thought I would because of the preparation, because of what's going to be needed. So it's like having the winter coat. And if we have a wonderful winter, then let's enjoy it and celebrate that we had an easy winter. But if it's tough, then at least we're prepared. And we're united and we're with like-minded people. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, for grounding us. Yeah.
Feeling complete, are we, Charlie?
I think we've really covered a much larger spectrum than I had ever anticipated here. I think I'm feeling complete. I think at this point I would just reverberate everything I said earlier, whatever that was. So I'm feeling complete, and if everybody else is, we can close this, and or if there's something that's somebody's feeling rising up in them that they would like to say before we close the call, please. Charlistic, yes, dear.
I would just like to thank Amani for bringing frequency in, because I feel as if frequency is the key. Heart resonance has a hertz, so does the earth. If we all sing in harmony, what could happen?
When you said that, Cheryl, I visualized almost the midwife. We're midwives, and the birthing process is going to happen regardless. And we don't know if it's going to be easy, gentle, or not, but as midwives, we're going to prepare, and we're going to try to make it as comfortable and as best as possible. I love that. It made me feel like I said we're midwives. We're birthing this new world. We're preparing, and we're going to try to make the transition and the shift as gentle as possible for Mother Earth and for all of the siblings and the loved ones standing around waiting.
I love that. I love everything I'm hearing. Claudia, thank you so much. And Cheryl, I had shared with Imani and Claudia in that first hour around the soul fire that I am embarking on a course of learning sound healing techniques, learning to use tuning forks and those various frequencies. And the woman was so inspiring today. She's with the Shift Network. And the money showed up yesterday, so I could like wholeheartedly sign up and purchase tuning forks. And she has offered us the analogy of the pipe organ. And when instruments have not been used for a long time, the pipes get kind of clogged. And so those parts of ourselves that got traumatized and have not expressed all the different frequencies of emotions, we are given an opportunity to use our voices and our instruments and our drums and feel into our bodies all of those parts of repressed emotions and frozen and stuck parts. Like I told Claudia in kind of a humorous way, you know, the farts and the squeaks and the squawks and whatever those noises we make as we learn to play the flutes and as we learn to tone with our voices, because we all have this sacred gift. We are all speaking in circle, so we can tone and we can get our bodies in a resonant, harmonious field and free up our throat chakras and free up. So we are direct channels, heaven and earth, all connected so that the intentions can go out in a powerful way from that depth of source. We can do this together as one. We can clean out the pipes, let our instruments sing, and shift this. Thank you.
If I could add to that, I've already been trained in working with tuning forks and called Sound Energy Dynamics through the Order of the Blue Star Mystery School and other things. And something I also learned a lot of people don't understand is our bodies are musical instruments. We have the chambers all over our body that we can, when you learn to breathe and you learn to access them, we can resonate. We are resonators. Our bodies are resonators. So it's very, very doable to think this way. And some of us were working on something called the Harmonic of Life Project. And unfortunately, we lost the main person who actually figured it out. And I did not get a copy of that. And the person it was sent to has left this world as well. But I know how it was arrived at. So maybe with some help, we can put it back together again, because I think that might be the harmonic we want to use to make this shift. So I'll see what I can learn. I know how Paul arrived at finding this specific set of frequencies that connected to every scale that's ever been used that we know of on this planet. There are specific ones that actually lined up. And he didn't do it through music, although he had a little help with some because he was a musician. He did it more through mathematics, geometry, and using I Ching and magic squares. But he found the ones that lined up from all of the systems. So I don't always tell people about all these things, but this seems to be the place to bring it up in case someone can help with that as well, because it can be recreated. I know that's how he came to that finding of specific frequencies to create this harmonic of life, as I was told to call it. Because I saw it getting broadcast around the planet, how people do that, telling everybody around the world, same time, turn something on, and seeing an instant shift on the planet. So I think this is tied into what you're talking about, Bridget and Imani, and definitely sound. And so we know from ancient texts that that's how the world was created. So everything is.
Thank you, Karen. I'm just remembering the story eons ago that before humans communicated through speaking, they communicated through singing. And the song is so powerful that many tribal cultures had a practice of someone in the tribe receiving the song for the person who was going to be born. And this song would be sung as the person was developing in utero, whenever that felt like it was appropriate. The song was sung when the person was born, and at every rite of passage ceremony, that person's song was sung to them again. And when the person would go out of balance, instead of being cast out or thrown into jail, their song was sung to them, reminding them who they are, reminding us who we are. So we have the opportunity to tune in to what is our song and to share it with one another and to sing, learn each other's songs and sing them to help us remember, reconnect to life and love. And when the person is getting ready to transition out of the physical body, we sing that song again. Aho.
Aho, thank you so very much.
So beautiful.
For reminding me, I've heard that story. It's how it should be.
So before I close, the bowl that I chose tonight in the beginning, it's blue. I can't tell you what they are. I go by colors. My human brain doesn't allow that. It's your throat chakra. So all of that is the expression. It's perfect. It opened the field for each of us to speak. And I thank each and every one of you for speaking from your hearts. That's what's important. And I think that's what is the major theme of what we do in this field of heart resonance, this radical earth heart resonance, is learn to speak from our hearts without fear and without subjecting ourselves to trauma that we've occurred in our lifetime or lifetimes, or we are representing now for our ancestors who are asking for their trauma to be released as well. And so this is part of what we're doing when we talk about the trauma of the land. It's the trauma of all of our ancestors. And I thank each and every one of you for showing up and sharing your hearts and your wisdom. In closing, I have this, I usually close everything I do with, in honor of Dr. Masaru Emoto. And it's a water blessing because I am a water warrior. This shirt is a water protector shirt that was given to me. And in this prayer, the simplest prayer is, I love you, I thank you, I respect you. And it's really very simple, but when it comes from the heart, it really has a resonance that actually changes the structure of the water. And so as I close tonight, I would offer you all of this. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. We are unity. May those blessings carry you through the week, and enjoy the waters wherever you are. And I'm going to stop the recording and